as well as of basic services and humanitarian and development assistance for the benefit of the Palestinian civilian population and in support of the Palestinian people's right to self-determination.
In accordance with Article 66, Paragraph 1 of the statute, the Registrar gave notice of the request for an advisory opinion to all states entitled to appear before the court. By an order dated 23 December 2024, the President of the Court decided that the United Nations and its member states, as well as the observer state of Palestine, were likely to be able to furnish information on the questions submitted to the Court for an advisory opinion, and fixed 28 February 2025 as the time limit within which written statements on the question might be presented to the Court in accordance with Article 66, Paragraph 2 of the statute. Pursuant to Article 65, Paragraph 2 of the statute, on 30 January 2025, the Secretariat of the United Nations communicated to the Court a dossier of documents likely to throw light upon the question formulated by the General Assembly. Additional documents were transmitted to the Court under the same provision on 10 February 2025, 20 February 2025, and 19 March 2025. The complete dossier has been published on the Court's website. Ruling on requests from the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the League of Arab States, and the African Union, the Vice President, Acting President, decided, in accordance with Article 66 of the statute, that those three international organizations were likely to be able to furnish information on the requests submitted to the Court. They were therefore authorized to submit written statements within the time limits fixed by the President of the Court and participate in the oral proceedings. They were also informed that the dossier of documents communicated by the Secretariat of the United Nations had been posted on the Court website. By communications dated 6 February 2025, the Registry informed the United Nations, its member states, and the observer state of Palestine, as well as the international organizations authorized to participate in the proceedings, that the Court had decided to hold public hearings on the question for an advisory opinion, which would open on 28 April 2025. The addressees were further invited to inform the Registry by 17 March 2025 if they intended to take part in those hearings. Within the time limit of 28 February 2025, written statements were filed in the Registry by 41 states, the United Nations, and 2 other international organizations. In addition, the Court decided on an exceptional basis to authorize the filing of the written statement of the African Union after the expiry of the relevant time limit. The United Nations, its member states, the observer state of Palestine, as well as the organizations authorized to participate in the proceedings, were duly informed of the list of participants having filed written statements and provided with a link to a web portal managed by the Registry from where those documents could be downloaded. The list of participants in the oral proceedings and the schedule of those hearings were communicated to the states and international organizations taking part in them. The participants were also informed of certain practical arrangements relating to the organization of the oral proceedings. The schedule for the hearings was also transmitted to the member states of the United Nations, which were not taking part in the hearings, and subsequently posted on the court's website. This morning, the court will hear a 30-minute presentation by the United Nations. This will be followed by the first part of Palestine's oral statement. Palestine will complete its oral statement this afternoon and will be followed by Egypt and Malaysia. Palestine has been allocated a total of 3 hours of speaking time, Egypt 45 minutes, and all the other participants will speak for a maximum of 30 minutes each. Before inviting the first delegation to address the court, I would add that in accordance with Article 106 of the Rules of Court, the court has decided to make the written statements submitted to it accessible to the public after the opening of the oral proceedings. The written statements of states not taking part in the oral proceedings will be made accessible to the public on the first day of the oral proceedings. The written statements of states and organizations taking part in the oral proceedings will be made accessible at the end of the day on which they present their oral statements. The written statements in question will be posted on the court's website. Let me also take this opportunity to explain the procedure that will be followed in the event of questions being put by members of the court to participants in these proceedings. Such questions will be asked at the close of the hearings on the afternoon of Friday, 2nd May 2025, after the last delegation has completed its presentation. The written text of such questions will be transmitted to the participants by the registrar. Written replies should be provided by Wednesday, 7 May 2025 at 6 p.m. No written comments on these replies are envisaged. I now give the floor to the United Nations, and I invite Ms. Eleanor Hammarskjöld, Legal Counsel of the United Nations, to the podium. Madam, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members of the court.
So you just heard those opening remarks there as the International Court of Justice this Monday is holding several hearings related to complaints against Israel as it relates to UNRWA and also the conflict in Gaza. That top right box, a live look as we are anticipating a ceremony on this Monday for the 70th anniversary of Germany joining NATO. And then that bottom box, a look ahead as we have a shot inside of the White House, 8:30 this morning Eastern Time, the White House press briefing with the White House Press Secretary, Caroline Leavitt. Here at 8:07.